Hello and welcome to the first Lee Savino book club. I am your host, Lee Savino. I'm an author. I've been authoring full time since 2015, and today we're talking about a book I wrote, His Perfect Prey. This is the guy version, I guess, and this is the discreet version, which has like a skull hidden in the roses. And I'm going to talk about some of like how I wrote it and the writing process itself. And also, if you're here live, you're welcome to ask questions in the chat just for fun. And this also has I'm not sure how much I can say to put this on YouTube, but it does have kink, and I'll try to keep it, I guess, PG-13 so that I can put this on YouTube and Facebook. And if you are watching the recording, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. People on Patreon can get the books for free, and um, they're welcome to come live. And if not, you can just catch a recording. So thank you for coming, and let me know if you need any links. And yeah. So His Perfect Prey, the way I write books is typically a scene drops in my head and I'm living the scene. I just learned the term for it, disassociating. You can disassociate and see through someone else's eyes like it's a movie. And it's totally benign the way I'm using it. And I disassociate into the character. So I'm seeing the world through their eyes. And I could see the heroine running through a forest. And I didn't know what the book was going to be yet. I just knew she was being chased. And then I started to think, well, why would she be chased? What would be the most fun scenario for that? And I was like, well, maybe she signed up to be hunted. But I like a little bit of non-con reluctance, and that is fun for me, and I can unpack that. I think about that a lot, actually. Um, why why would I want that in a fantasy? It's actually really common, but I'll get back to that in a second. I could see her running, and obviously she's running from a really hot guy who's 6'3" something, and um I was at a book signing and someone had this amazing cover model, and I saw him and was like, I want that. And he's actually a big Instagram guy, a tattooed guy. And then someone said, oh, you should go see this photographer, Wander Aguilar. He has a guy who looks like this. And I bought two of his photos, and the same model. One of them is on His Perfect Prey, and the other is on the model cover of His Perfect Poison. So then I had twins. So I was like, great. Now I have two guys to work with here. And I have been thinking about this mafia world and building out this mafia world for a while, wanting to write more dark romance. Since I wrote Dark Romance with Stasia Black in a co-writing collaboration back in 2019. And I, um, yeah, I just was really excited to set this in a dark romance world, even though, let's be honest, this is very werewolfy of a book. This is my mafia werewolf guy. In fact, his fighter name in the rings of the underground of New Rome fighting rings was the Wolf, which I don't talk about too much because that's a lot of his trauma, and I actually don't go too deep into his trauma. Um, but that's how I started thinking about the book, dreaming about the book, and wanting to write the book is seeing that first scene and then starting to ask questions and building out around it. And a lot of writers write this way. C.S. Lewis saw a fawn carrying an umbrella and said, why would a fawn be carrying an umbrella? And wrote The Chronicles of Narnia, which is a children's series and was very influential on my as to me as a reader reading those amazing children's books. Now I write spicy romance. So back to spicy romance. I I read a book by Kate C. Wells where it was grumpy sunshine. That's the trope. So one of the characters grouchy, one of them is sunshiny. And Kate C. Wells flipped it because usually the guy is the grumpy guy. And I love that. I love a grumpy alpha hole. But in my mind, the heroine was grumpy in this one. And for good reason, because the reason she signed up to be hunted and do this primal play, because that's that's how the story went. It's like, okay, she signed up for this. Why would she sign up? She needs the money. There's a loan shark after her family because of some horrible debt her sister's ex got them into. And there are kids in danger. Not for too long. I hate kids in peril. I can't read that, but I knew that the hero of the book, Jaeger, was going to fix all the problems. He's a fairy godfather, mafia fairy godfather with abs, which is my favorite. A guy who is hot and comes in and fixes all your problems. Like, that's what I want to read. So, anyway, I built this world around the story. Like, she signed up to be hunted. This is Jaeger's fantasy, and she needs the money, and she's incentivized to run. So, if she signs up, she gets $1,000 if she shows up, basically. And if she stays running away from him until midnight, like avoids getting caught, she gets $10,000. But if she makes it until dawn, she gets $100,000. And she's a waitress and she needs that money. And as a former waitress, and I was a bad waitress, let me tell you, I'm very clumsy. Um, anyway, I was like, I would do this in a fantasy world. So let's talk for a second about the fantasy of like reluctance or non-con. I was raised in purity culture, and I'm actually about to put a video up on YouTube about this. And purity culture says good girls don't enjoy themselves in bed, basically. And I identified as a good girl. Like, I was just a good student. I wanted to do the right thing, and I did what I was told, right? And then was like, wait a second. I have all these needs and desires as a woman as I'm growing. And I think it would be good to have, a nice life in the bedroom. I'm trying to avoid using certain terms that might get this video taken down. Um, Before I could even think about dating or being with a partner, I was just reading because that was a very safe way for me to explore my fantasies. And it turns out it's pretty common to have a fantasy of like you're being controlled or your choices are being taken away. I think it's very cathartic. And there's all this research on these sorts of grape fantasies that not just women have them, but people have them. And it's a way, I believe, of like, I was able to be the good girl, but also get all the happy endings in bed I deserve, right? So Elodie is like, I don't know, but then she's really, really into it. So that's why I write that fantasy. I have a line that I can write up to, and it's a little more on the reluctant side where she's like, I'm not sure about this, but I'm in. And then her body is like, we love this. Chase me more. Let's get it on the forest floor. And that that was the fantasy. And that was, oh my gosh, the first few chapters of this book, I was just like, he's chasing her. She's scared. And that's another thing is they've done studies where fear and arousal really entwine. So they had they had participants on a rickety bridge, and then they rated what they thought of their partner, like, or not their partner, but the research assistant. Like, were they attractive? And people who were a little bit more afraid, like the bridge was really rickety and they weren't sure, they rated the research participant as more attractive. The feelings of fear, like the pounding heart, the flushing, because your body's like, run, run, so it's pumping blood. That that is the same as arousal. Like, just the body cues are the same as arousal. So, and it's fun. It's fun to think of these dangerous, intense situations. So in his Perfect Prey, she signs up to be chased. He wants this. And he has a very, very sad backstory of just being an orphan with his twin, growing up on the streets, trying to survive, getting trapped, basically enslaved, made to fight in this sort of like underground gladiatorial situation I have in my made up city for my dark romance. That's called New Rome. I guess that's my Roman Empire. But I don't know. He wants this really intense thing. And then the rest of the book, after he claims her, he's like, I like this. I'm keeping her forever. The rest of the book is pretty much aftercare. Am I right? Like, he just fixes all of her problems. He makes the loan shark go away by throwing them down the stairs. I guess I should have said there's spoilers for this, but I don't know. Like, you'll still enjoy the book, even if I told you that. And he's in this mafia world where he has to really claim Elodie, the heroine, if she's going to know all the secrets about the secret mafia society he's in, fraternitas. Fraternitas is a Latin word that means brotherhood. So yes, this is my Roman Empire. Anyway, um, so then she has to be initiated into this dark world. But it's a very short book, so that happens very quickly. Sorry, but I really just wanted to write this fantasy and it was fun. And yeah, it's a lot of aftercare and he fixes all her problems. He lets her decorate his penthouse and she's the grouchy one, which was really fun to write. He's not exactly a sunshine, but he's just level, right? And in fact, as a writer, I can tell you right now, oftentimes in dark romance, the hero has a flat arc, meaning he starts in the same, he doesn't really grow. He starts and ends in the same spot. He's still, growly. He's a bit growly, but he's pretty much always in a good mood, I guess. Not necessarily smiling, but sort of like, this is all fine, or I love Elodie. And his twin is the mean one and scary one who is not having a good time. And you can read his book. I have it here. His book is With Poison Ivy. His Perfect Poison. That's the discreet cover. Anyway, it was fun to write a heroine who was growling under her breath the whole time. I don't know how that happened. I think I noticed myself like doing the dishes and I was like, like trying to get them clean. And I heard myself doing that. I was like, I think Elodie does this. And I wrote that in. So she's growling under her breath a lot. And she's had a really rough life. And her arc is I can't trust anybody. I have to do it alone. Life is really hard. And it's hard for her to accept that Jaeger is going to make it all better. And he even tells her, like, you love me, by the way. And she's like, she doesn't even know how to access those feelings. But she gets there. So she does have an arc where she's like, yes, I will allow myself to be loved and taken care of. And he doesn't really have an arc. He's like, I want her. I'll claim her. I'll make her life better. She'll be mine. I'll give her everything she wants. She loves this ring. I'll buy her the ring. Immediately, she freaks out because she's like, you just bought me a ring. What the hell? I can't deal with this level of attention and love and respect that I'm getting. It's also mafia. So he's like, you're mine now. You don't have a choice. The aftercare was really fun to write. I love the aftercare. The aftercare is necessary because she turns her ankle running from him. And so then he gets to carry her around everywhere, which I love. Like just total daddy care for you vibes for the rest of the book. And I got some notes here. Let me see if I got them all. It was fun to write the world because I had the characters, the devil and St. James, in my head since the end of my second trilogy with Stazer Black. So 2020, 2021, I don't know. I don't remember. I had a baby in 2018 and I have no memories. I was writing a lot and loving it and writing what I wanted to write, but also I wasn't sleeping a lot. So none of my memories got filed. And that's how that works. So I wrote St. James into the end of Beauty and the Rose, which is a Beauty and the Beast retelling that I did with Stasia Black. And I knew that I wanted to write more dark romance. And I also couldn't write more dark romance at that time because I had two littles, not sleeping. The books I knew would take more out of me. And I wanted to finish the Berserker series and I wanted to write more fun stuff than dark and heavy stuff. But this book is not that heavy. Like he fixes all her problems. And so again, I wrote a fluffy mafia romance. And then I wrote His Perfect Poison, which is just wild fun. And now I am writing the Devil's Story. It is with the third editor, developmental editor, meaning story level editor. It is going to be over 400 pages, and it's a lot of plot and almost like soap opera twists and not a lot of spice. So that's been really interesting, and I think you'll love it, but it is very different. And people asked when they read this, they're like, wait, does the devil have a story? And the devil's name is Damien, but he's known around town as this mob boss named the Devil. And I was like, I haven't written it yet, but it's just been up in my head for a while. And I finally am writing it. And next will be not St. James. St. James is going to take a minute because I want to write his story with even more non con. And he's the character I could do it with. And it's like that line is here. And I'm like, can I just get right up against that line and right there? And I'm not sure if I can. But yeah, I have to figure out how to do it. But when I read, I typically am craving that level of dark. Not horror. That's over my line. But yeah. And these books are I'm living in this world. I would write them for free. Like I actually just want more people to read them. That's why I want to do this book club to be like, this is why I wrote it and I'm going to talk about it. Sometimes it's hard for me to talk about these because I just want you to read it and like go into the world without knowing he throws the loan shark down the stairwell. But marketing, sometimes you have to say the surprise or the twist. That's not really a twist, but what's happening, and that gets people to read it. And I'm just like, no, just go and just enjoy the experience. So I'm trying to get better at talking about my books so that more people read them. So if you're here, thank you so much. And I hope you read it and enjoy it if you like dark. And someone just commented that I want to rub up against that line like a cat. And that is absolutely true. I'm craving darker, but situationally, like I need things to be pretty sunshiny in the world before I can write super dark sometimes. So, and I have to be in the right headspace. And who knows? I keep trying to write dark and writing more campy. So, but whatever. I'm writing what I love to write. And I am so grateful to everybody who has read anything I've ever written and reviewed it or not reviewed it, loved it, hate it. I just love that people read the books and I'm grateful you're here. So I'm going to stop this recording. We will do our next book club in September. I think I already put out the date, so I'll give you the date. And if you can make it, great. I think we're going to do Berserkers next. Or we'll definitely do His Perfect Poison at some point. Maybe His Perfect Darkness, which is my kinky Batman, which is set in the same world. In fact, Jaeger, the hero in this one, and his brother Kaiser are in my kinky Batman book, which is this cover's my favorite cover. His Perfect Darkness. Hey. So, yay. Thank you for coming, and I will take questions. Someone just said, we have Poison Ivy here. That's her name. If you want to come live, you can change your name so that no one can see your name here. But Poison Ivy showed up to say her favorite book is His Perfect Poison. Thank you, Poison Ivy. I know who you really are, and you are an awesome supporter of my work. So thank you so much. So yay. I think that's it. That there's not much. The book is short, but it's fun. So I will stop the recording.